Chapter 26. The First Public Utility. In 1798, the same year that Albany became the state capital, a fearful epidemic of fever swept over New York City, carrying off hundreds upon hundreds of its inhabitants. All business was suspended. People fled to Greenwich Village and to Chelsea in hordes. The site of Washington Square was made a potter's field, and members of the Medical Society, formed some years earlier, served day and night to check the scourge. When it had again died down, New York set about profiting from the experience. The New York Hospital had been founded in 1776, but had merely served as a barracks for soldiers until after the war. Since that time, physicians had been hampered in their work by popular superstition. On one occasion, a prying urchin had climbed a ladder to watch some doctors busily dissecting a corpse, and when one of them playfully brandished a limb to shoo off the boy, he hurried to broadcast a rumor that graves were being robbed. The result was the so-called doctor's riot, in which property was destroyed and the doctors' lives threatened. New York, however, was ready to cooperate with science to stamp out yellow fever. Organization in charity work began to show itself, and the much-neglected matter of sanitation and a pure water supply became the question of the day. The city had been getting its water from wells and springs on Manhattan, and most of them were impure and brackish in taste. The most popular spring, the Tea Water, was in the vicinity of Baxter and Mulberry Streets, where a fashionable out-of-town garden resort was located. Water from this spring was peddled about the town in tea-water carts at 3 pence for 130 gallons. For a while, a spring at 8 Jacob Street rivaled it, claiming popularity from its medicinal character, and an elegant Moorish building was erected over the pump. This popularity ended, however, when somebody discovered that its peculiar taste came from a neighboring tan pit. The demand for a better water supply led to the formation of the Manna-Hatin Company, New York's first public utility corporation. In 1799, the state legislature granted a charter authorizing a group of prominent citizens to supply the city with pure and wholesome water. Among them was John Stevens, the famous engineer whose ambitious plans for a railroad later matured into the Pennsylvania system. Even the city itself was among the founders, for it became one of the first subscribers to the stock of the Manna-Hatin Company, and for over a century was represented on the company's board of directors. A few years later, in 1808, the state of New York also became a stockholder, and has since held its shares continuously for the benefit of the Common School Fund. Aaron Burr, a member of the State Assembly from New York City in 1799, saw in the chartering of the water company an opportunity to gain banking privileges for his political party, the Anti-Federalists. Hitherto, all efforts on their part to get a bank charter past the legislature had been blocked by Alexander Hamilton and the Federalists, who meant to keep their monopoly in New York City. Accordingly, Burr wrote a clause into the Waters Company charter authorizing its directors to employ their surplus capital in any manner not contrary to the state and national laws. It was not until after the bill had been passed by the legislature and signed by the governor that Hamilton and his party realized that they had been outwitted. New York City now had 3 branches: the Bank of New York, a branch of the Bank of the United States, and the Bank of the Manna-Hatin Company, known today as the Bank of Manhattan Trust Company. Burr, for his part, derived small advantage from his maneuver. It was not long before he was dropped from his seat on the directors' board of the Manna-Hatin Company, defeated for re-election to the State Assembly, and kept by a single electoral vote from becoming President of the United States. Embittered by these defeats, he recognized Alexander Hamilton as their author, and in 1804 he challenged his rival to a duel at Weehawken. The shot that killed Alexander Hamilton ended 2 singular careers so bound up in the history of New York, for by the death of his adversary, Aaron Burr made himself an outcast from society.